Hey folks, I wanted to walk you through an example, several examples of how you can use this new thing that we're learning in Unit 4 called if, elif, else. It is a structure, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. Let's go ahead and write some code. We're going to start off by, let's see, I think we're going to make we're going to define an on-mouse press. Maybe we could do a move since we just learned how to do on mouse move. And on mouse move function, we'll have to get the two parameters, mouse X and mouse Y, like we normally do when we make an on mouse move or when we're given one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start to create a little structure here. We're going to say if, and what is it that we're checking? We're going to check the position of the mouse. And if the mouse, we can either check, well, there's a whole bunch of things we could do, but we're going to check to see if the mouse is high or low on the screen. And if we're going to do that, what would we use? Would we check mouse X or mouse Y? I'll give you a second to think about it. And by the way, you'll notice that I have numbers on the top of the screen and numbers on the bottom. I did that by pressing this hashtag. It says toggle grid view. And that is helpful. If you do know whether you're dealing with X or Y, seeing the numbers on the screen actually kind of helps you to figure out, where, what the numbers are at a particular, height or side to side. Anyways, I am hopeful that you decided that if we want to go up and down, then we need to check to see where the mouse Y is. So we're going to check to see if mouse Y is either greater than or less than a certain number. So we're going to try less than 50-50 chance, who knows? Maybe we'll get it right, maybe we'll get it wrong. And we're going to go and check to see if mouse Y is less than 100, in other words, near the top of the screen. Remember, here mouse Y is up and down, and less than 100 would mean from about here all the way up to there. And then when we hit enter, we automatically get an indentation. Please use that indentation. And for now, since we don't know what we're going to do, we're just going to put in a pass statement. That means do nothing. If we didn't put in the pass statement, though, then the if statement would give us an error. I'll demonstrate. If I hit run, immediately I get a syntax error because there's an if block and there's nothing after it. Okay, so I'll hit the tab key and then I'll put in the pass and then hit enter. And now I'm ready to do the rest of my if, elif, else structure. Let's see what that means. So we're going to type elif, and that is short for else if. Anyways, we're going to check to see whether the mouse Y is less than 200, and then we'll put in a pass statement, and then, enter, and then put in another elif, and we'll check to see if mouse Y is less than 300. And then finally, and we'll put in a pass. And then finally, we're not going to do another else if. We're just going to do whatever else, okay? And I got to admit, there are pros and cons to putting in this else, okay? A lot of times, if we just put if, elif, 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 and we never put in an else, we actually have more control over the code, and we're less likely to produce an error because we're being very specific about the condition we're looking for. And again, let me remind you, this is a condition. Is mouse Y less than 200? Is that true or is that not? Is it true or is it false? If the condition is true, then we run the code right here. If the condition is false, then we go on and we check to see if one of the other conditions is true. The problem with putting an else in is that when you use else, it'll do anything other than what you specified in all these conditions. And sometimes what happens is you forget to specify all your conditions, and so else just does something, and you'll wonder, why is my code behaving the way it is? Anyways, we're gonna work with else for now so that you can see an entire if, elif, else structure in action. Notice that I've highlighted all the code, and when you put it together and you have all of them, the if, the elif, and the else, and all the bodies of the code of all of those, we call that a structure. And by the way, the pass here is the body of the code for the first if, and this pass is the body of the code for the elif, and this is the body of the code for the that second elif, and this is the body of the code for the else. Notice that whenever we're providing the body of the code for an if or an elif or an else, it must be indented one tab. All right. Thank you for being with me. All right, now let's see what it is that we want to do. I think we're going to move something up and down. Let's go ahead and say that we're going to make something, we're just going to call it a cursor. And it is going to be equal to, that's a variable, and we'll make it a shape. We'll call it a rectangle. And the rectangle, will make it so that the left edge of the rectangle is going to be, initially, we'll just put it at 0, 0, but in a minute, we'll have it move with the mouse. Then we'll make the width of it very small, like 10, and we'll make the height very small, like 5. And then just to have a little bit of fun, we'll go ahead and fill in the color. So fill equals blue. Now, by the way, I kind of get the feeling that maybe this might be a little too small for some of you to see. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so that the text is just a little bit bigger. Okay, now we've got a cursor. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to make it so that I guess the cursor is just going to show us where the mouse is. Let's see what happens. It's not doing anything yet. So let's make it so that the cursor moves around with the mouse. So before the if statements, we'll put in cursor dot left. We could have done center X, but I'm going to have the left edge of the mouse be the left edge of the cursor be positioned where the mouse is, and we'll do mouse X, and then cursor dot top, and that'll be mouse Y. Again, I could have used cursor dot center Y, but for variety and to expose you to other stuff, we're going to do cursor dot top. Let's go ahead and hit run, and now I can see I'm moving the cursor all around. So that'll give us some feedback that the program knows where the mouse is. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the color of the background depending on how high or how low the mouse is. So if the mouse Y is less than 100, in other words, if it's at the top of the screen, then we're going to say app.background equals whatever color, I don't care. And then we'll make it a different color if it's less than 200. So app.background equals blue. And I don't care what color you put in there. Have some fun with it. And then if mouse Y is less than 300, we'll put app.background. And by the way, if you guys are just copying and pasting the app.background line, please, by all means, make it easy on yourself. App.background will make it green. And finally, if the cursor is not less than 300 or 200 or 100, if it's something else other than all those, then we'll make app.background equal to yellow. Why not? There we go. Now if I hit run, and I move the mouse up and down the screen, I get this fun kind of effect. Not bad, eh? Not bad. Now, you'll notice one thing that's kind of interesting. Let me get to one where we can really see the cursor. If I go left and right, notice nothing happens because I'm not checking for mouse X. I'm not checking to see if mouse X is less than 100 or less than 200 or less than 300. I'm only checking mouse Y, and therefore nothing happens when I move back and forth. But if I move up and down and my mouse Y gets to be different values, by the way, I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but if you look down here in the lower right corner of the canvas, you see an X and a Y. You know what those are? That's mouse X and mouse Y. Wherever I put the mouse, those numbers down there, they change to tell you where the mouse is. So just a little aside for you, a little fun fact. Okay, next. Oh, by the way, now I hope that you watched me write the code and you followed along. After you get done with this video, or if you want to right now, pause the video and write the code yourself and try it out. And if you want, play around with it and make it your own. Make it do something different. Okay, I'm going to assume that you had a chance to play around with the code yourself if you wanted to. At the very end of the video, I'm going to remind you again. All right, what is the next thing we'd like to do? Right now, all I did, well, hold on, let me get a breather. Okay, I just had kind of a strange idea. This could be an element of a video game. Let's go ahead and make a counter. And when we make a counter, when you've seen it in code before, we usually make it a label. And we're going to put it right in the center of the screen so that we can see it. And, oops, I'm sorry, we got to give it a value. Let's start it with 0. If you want the label to be just text, you put quotes around it. But if you want it to be a number and you want to be able to do math with that number, then you don't put quotes around it. So just the number 0, and then 200 comma 200 will put it in the center of the screen, and then we'll give it. I think the next thing is like size. We'll make it 30 so it's big enough to see, and then we'll give it a fill. I think by default it's black, and I think I'll just leave it as black. So let's go ahead and hit run and double check. That looks like it's working. I could make the size a little bit bigger just for fun. There we go. And then this time what we're going to do is when we move the mouse around, we're going to get rid of, we're not going to have the cursor follow the mouse anymore, not this time. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do counter plus equals, let's make it go up by 10. And so now when I go ahead and hit run and I move them, something went wrong. I wonder, what did it say? Run. Cannot access a local variable counter. Of course it cannot. Why would it be able to? What we want to do is we don't want to increase counter by 10. We want to increase the value of the counter by 10. So counter.value. Let's try that. Run. And then when I move my mouse around, I get the counter goes up. Yay, kind of fun. Okay, now, instead of changing the background this time, what we're going to do is we're going to change something else around. Let's see what we're going to do. Let's make another label. Let's call it message. And it's going to be equal to label. And this time we will use quotes. And whatever message you want to put, we'll just start off with hello. Something simple, and we'll put that just below the center of the screen. So maybe we'll put it in the center X, but the Y will be like 250, and again we'll give it a size of I don't know, maybe we'll do 30 so we can fit a bigger message on the screen, and I'll hit run and there you can see it. Let's go ahead and change the message depending on the counter value. So let's do this. Let's start with small. And then let's do this. Let's do, instead of checking if mouse Y, let's check whatever the counter dot value is. Okay, if counter value is less than 100, we will continue to say small. If counter value, or else if counter dot value is less than 200, we're going to say big. Because it's, or how about medium? Let's not get crazy. There we go. And I'm sorry about that. I'm changing app.background. Let's change message.value to small, and then we'll change message.value to medium, and then we'll change message.value to green if counter.value is less than 300. Let's see here. And we won't make it green. We'll make it large. There we go. Okay. And then one last thing. If it's not less than any of those, then we're going to do message.value equals huge. Okay. And so now I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And then I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse around. And you'll notice that the more I move my mouse, I go from small to large to huge, small, medium to large to huge. Okay. It went a little too fast for my liking, so I'm not too happy with these numbers. Let's change the numbers around. Let's go maybe I don't know. Let's go 300 and 600 and 900 and then above. So we'll go run, and then there we go. Small, medium, large, huge. There we go. Kind of a fun little effect. This might be a mechanism that you could use in a game. All right, and the other thing I like about this is you're getting a little bit of a refresher on how to display text on a screen, and how to change the value of the text, and how to change the value of the text if it's a number. Bunch of little review things that are pretty good for us here. Let's do one last thing. We're hitting the 15-minute mark, and I don't want to go too much longer. But I'm going to remind you that maybe we could also check. Oh! You know what I'd like to do? Couple things. One, some of you guys, I want to make it clear what the difference is to do this between doing this and doing something like this. Let me show you something else. What if we had done if condition, and then if condition, and then if condition, and then if condition? What if we had done that instead of if, elif, else? Well, the difference is that here, if we did if, then each of those bodies could run. Okay, whatever the code was in the body of each of those each one of those if statements, each of those could run if all the conditions were met. If, elif, else is different. If we have if, elif, else, what happens is either we can set message.value to small, or set it to medium, or set it to large, or set it to huge. We cannot do more than one of those things. That's why we sometimes use if, elif, else instead of if, just in case you were wondering. If, elif, else only lets us do one of the bodies of each of those, and if we could do all of the bodies. Okay, and you just have to run into a particular situation where that's important, and then you and I can talk about that. What else did I want to say? Give me a second. I know I have something important. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is, you may have noticed that I use less than. For sure, if you're going to try checking multiple ranges, it's best to be consistent about whether you're using less than or greater than. You don't want to switch back and forth, less than, greater than, less than, greater. That's just confusing. Now, don't get me wrong, there are cases where that is needed, but when we're checking ranges and we're going from top to bottom or side to side or things like that, then in those cases, you're better off being consistent and always using less than. And then you'll notice that I go up by numbers, 300, then 600, then 900. And then we'll assume that the else is anything bigger than that. You may wonder what would have happened if we had gone the other way around, if we had done greater than, like this, okay? And that to me is something that's worthwhile playing around with and exploring. The good news is I've given you a technique that actually works, but there's nothing wrong with you trying it the other way to see what happens, okay? I would think that if you wanted to flip those all around, you would have to switch the numbers, but that in itself might not fix it either. So anyways, I'm not going to go into it because I'm at the 18-minute point and I want to let you go, but I appreciate you watching the video, and I hope that it helps you to better understand this new thing that we're learning in Unit 4. If all you did was watch the video, I highly recommend that you go back through and you try to write the code with me, and you change the code to your liking to make it your own and to make sure that you really understand what's going on.